people have always talked about the American dream. I must confess it exists. America is a wonderful country because if you have a dream and you're focused and you're consistent, you'll accomplish all your goals. Following the line and open up to here.
Robert Okubo is the founder of 200 Degrees, a company that offers cleaning services to both domestic households and corporate institutions. He founded the company back in 2002 in Washington, D.C. But his story began back in 1969 in the United Kingdom, where he was born.
Both my parents were students in the UK back then. My mom is from the Caribbean, Trinidad and Tobago. Hi, Ma. My dad is late right now, and they migrated back to Kenya in the early 70s. We were in Kenya for a few years. I went to primary school here. I remember Victoria Primary, St. Mary's, and then I went to Upper Hill, Miranda.
As fate would have it, Robert's parents separated, and a young Robert had to leave his father, who hailed from Busia County, and relocate to Maryland in 1987.
It's interesting that we got to the US. We were so excited we were going to the US. We started thinking about things like Hollywood and the stars and Disneyland and all these places we could go to. But the reality never sank home that wasn't home, and the reality was there was a serious culture shock. Well, I was not used to it. I was not used to winters. They were a different kind of people. They were not as friendly as they are back home. And that took a lot to adjusting because I was extremely young.
This difficulty adjusting to the culture abroad, together with his love for Kenya, resulted in Robert deciding to come home just 5 years later.
I always had a calling to come back to Kenya, and out of my family members, I'm the only one who lives here. So my brothers and sisters are based out there, including my mom. My mother couldn't believe I was giving up the US to come back home. And I had to be honest with her and tell her that's all I knew was Kenya, where I grew up, my friends, my life, my everything. When I came back to Kenya, my first 3 years were not so bad, but as things got tougher, I actually remember getting broke, going flat broke, and realizing that I needed to replan my life and see how to get back to the top.
But an ever-daring Robert did not let this discourage him, and soon he was able to find employment.
I worked for a travel agency. From the short stint I pulled while I was there, I learned a lot about travel, and I was able to pick myself from there and start my own travel company called Johnny Be Good Safaris. And I used to move Kenyans around the country, and what I would do for them is I would make sure they could pay me in installment payments so they could afford these expensive packages we used to have, because at the time travel was quite expensive.
Eventually, he decided to take his business international, and in 2002, he was back in the United States.
But this time I went back to the US as a grown adult with a plan. And my plan was to go and market Kenya and bring back American tourists.
Unfortunately, luck was not on his side.
When I got to the US, Mombasa had been hit, Paradise Hotel had been hit. And right away the Americans slapped a 3-year ban on Kenya. So that forced me to figure out my plan B. I had to talk to my brother who lives here and said, look, can I find something to do just to at least make back my air ticket, this and that, and figure out my next plan? And he said, actually, even better, there are other Kenyans who work for a cleaning company that may be able to hook you up with something.
Upon joining Stanley Steamer, Robert immediately saw a business opportunity and was inspired to start his own cleaning company.
I saw a cleaning technique I'd never seen in East Africa before. I got trained, I worked there for a couple of months, and as my mind usually operates, I quickly said, you know what, I need to save up money, buy my equipment, introduce this back in Kenya.
With that, 200 Degrees Cleaning Service was born.
Yeah, we offer a wide variety of cleaning services. I'd like to say we're not just a general cleaning company, we specialize in the kind of cleaning we do. So basically we clean furniture, we clean carpet, we clean mattresses. Then we also detail vehicles, we also clean aircrafts, buses, name it, we will clean it. We wash down large buildings, we do high window cleaning, and basically the line is extremely wide.
Robert was able to grow his business in the States, but with all his success, something was amiss.
That was not enough for me. I always kept on having this calling in me that made me feel I needed to go back home. And one of my turning points was a funeral I attended from my mother's side of the family. And I was so saddened at that funeral because I noticed there were so many gravestones. And I was thinking to myself, gosh, Robert, if you died, this is where you're going to end up. And if you end up amongst all these stones, people will forget you.
With this in mind, Robert decided to open a branch in Kenya and began operations in Nairobi and Mombasa, which was not easy compared to the United States.
The challenge with Kenya, when you're used to the US dollar, I'm sorry, but you're kind of a big spender because it's easy to make that dollar, it's easy to blow it, and it's easy to make it out. I could walk out the door and come back with $800 in a day's work in the US. Kenya, you'd have to have a special client you're charging $800 because it's quite a bit of money. We're talking 80,000 Kenya shillings. So think of that frame of mind that you're used to spending out there, and you come back into Kenya where the economy is kind of different, where you want to carefully spend 1,000 shillings a day, 2,000 shillings a day, depending on what you're making a month. So I think that's a challenge for a lot of us guys from the diaspora when we come back home, is how to adjust from being a dollar spender to the Kenyan shilling spender.
Even with this challenge, Robert insists setting up shop in Kenya was worth it.
The quality of life in Kenya is excellent. And when I say excellent, in the US, the average family can't afford a maid. It's very expensive. It costs you about $200–300 a month. You go to the gas stations, you have to pump your own petrol. I always tell Kenyans, back home you are spoiled. You have a housekeeper, you have a watchman, you have somebody who polishes your shoes, you have somebody who gasses your car. Quality of life is different.
In the 17 years that Robert has been running his company, he has been able to make a name for himself, cleaning for various personalities, companies, institutions, and government offices, including State House. One satisfied client is Be Active Gym, Spa and Coffee Bar along Mombasa Road, Nairobi.
One of the aspects you really need to use as a selling point when you are running a fitness center is your cleanliness. People wouldn't want to come and work out in a place that is not clean. In terms of gym equipments, in terms of floor, in terms of weights, and in terms of washrooms and other areas that are located in the gym. And 200 Degrees have been very, very perfect at doing their job. And our clients are so happy about their services.
Robert strongly believes that one of the reasons for his success is family involvement. He works closely with his wife and children, who actively assist him in the day-to-day running of the business.
My dad keeps on comparing us to an Indian family. He says like that's what his dream is. Like personally, I'm mostly in the computer part for him. So like I do his bookings and all. And yeah, so he was like his dream is the family working together, and that when he's old, someone else can take over. Yeah.
Robert says that patience and consistency is vital when it comes to running such a business.
To start a business in any part of the world, let's give, for example, Nairobi, you have to have one client every day of the year to keep busy. It's a challenge because they don't know you, you have to win their trust, and with time when they believe in you, they'll start talking about you. So all this takes time. Think about it. When you're dating somebody, how long does it take? It takes a while. Before you even think of marrying them, it takes a while. Well, business is the same way. It takes a long time for people to put their trust in you before they can entrust you with their furniture, their carpets that are worth thousands of shillings. So it's all about patience.
Currently, 200 Degrees has over 30 employees both abroad and in Kenya. But to Robert, this is only the beginning. So what are his plans for the future?
Well, we're trying to go regional and get into other countries. Like I said, we're now looking into South Africa and also some of the smaller cities in Kenya. We are still trying to venture into Tanzania also. And then also the youth. We're trying to see how we can empower them with cleaning the right way. We're trying to come up with one of my partners on how to see or set up a kind of school for them where they can come and get the right training so they leave certified knowing how to do things the right way.
And this is his parting shot on our Diaspora Bite.
I would advise the younger generation, if you have the opportunity to travel out there, take advantage of it. It's a good eye-opener. It's a good way to look at that country and see what you can bring back to Kenya that you do different for Kenya.